I'm just here to learn from everybody and tell you some of my stories.
Awesome, awesome. And I'm excited to hear your story. Kimberly, I'm just going around on my screen. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure, no problem. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kimberly Kennedy. Everybody calls me Kim. I should have changed that, but I reside in Brooklyn, New York. Also a lifetime survivor. I am 38. I'll be 39 this year. I am the communications manager over at Dandelions Inc. I am also the founder of Conversations with Kim, where I explore reproductive justice with children, youth, and women, really breaking into the stigma and exploring what passion looks like and also pleasure within the body, something that we don't talk about. We talk
Right.
about sex, but we really don't talk about pleasure at all. So that's a little bit about me.
Oh, I cannot wait. Bring a little excitement. Go ahead, Dorothea. There you
Hello
go.
guys, my name, can y'all hear? I can't unmute. Can y'all
You're
hear?
good. We can hear you. Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Okay.
Yep.
Hi, my name is Dorinthia, go by D Unique. Most people can't pronounce my name, so I go by D. I'm the co-executive director and founder of Dandelions alongside with my one of the amazing person over here too as well. Um, I am a mother of three biological, four in total. Um, yeah, I think that completes it for now.
All right. All right. And Mars, am I saying that correctly?
Yes, you are. Hello, everyone. My name is Mars. My pronouns are they, them. I am in the Albany, New York area, and I was also born with HIV. I am 36 years old. I'll be 37 in a couple of months. Um, And as far as my work with HIV, I do a lot of advocacy work outside of my daytime job. My daytime job actually has nothing to do with HIV, so I'll leave it at that. um, but yeah, thank you very much. I'm excited to be here and excited for this panel.
Awesome. And then I'll just have Aisha go ahead and introduce, and then I'll hand over to the amazing Antoinette Jones.
Hello, I'm so sorry. My internet went out just as this is getting started. So hopefully if it comes back on, you'll see me switch back to my computer. So I'm using my cell phone. But my name is Aisha Scott. I work with the Dandelions Movement. I work with the finance and operations. And I'm really proud of the work we do and excited to be here today. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I am super, super proud of all of you. It just warms my heart to even see this panel. And so I'm going to hand over to Antoinette Jones.
Am I not on the panel? No, Sharna, that was a mistake. You're on the next panel. When you see me, that'll be your panel, okay? Okay.
All right. Okay. Antoinette, over to you.
Thank
Take a
you,
deep breath.
Martha.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I am deeply, deeply breathing right now. And I'm so sorry for the miscommunication, y'all. Hey, my name is Antoinette Jones. I am many things, but one of the things that I am in my current role is the co-founder and co-executive director of Dandelions Movement. I am also the national field organizer at PWN. And I am also a mother, somebody who has been in the workforce since I was 14 years old, somebody who identifies as the queer community, and so many things that I've experienced in my journey while living with HIV. I'm also born with HIV and have been living with it for 30 years. So I'm excited to have this conversation with these panelists today as we talk more deeply about the workforce, our experiences as people who are born with HIV, mental health, some of the needs that we need, and things that we want to see change when it comes to working alongside or an allyship of the Dandelion and Lifetime Survivor community. So my first question, I want to go to Kim. for the first question. And then whoever would love to follow Kim and feels inclined to answer, please do so. But how has your experience as a lifetime survivor influenced your development of ideas about work, your career path, and your relationship with your work? Like, what has that journey been like for you?
Well, thank you for having me be the first one. um, get this out the way. So, how has that influenced my journey? So, I've started in the field of HIV at the age of 12. I didn't even know I was starting advocacy. I'm somebody who is known as an elite controller. Also, the old term was what was it, non-progressor. So for me, the doctor didn't understand. I'm also, born in '86, so in the early '90s, growing up, that was something that you didn't see. Somebody who was not on medication. Had a death sentence, but then again, the death sentence got pushed. So I started off talking with different doctors and going to conferences that way, just talking about my experience of living with HIV at 12. So at that, it kind of progressed where I wanted to know more about what is HIV. I'm talking about me and this experience, but I don't know exactly what I'm talking about. And I don't know, I know it's important, but why? So fast forward to after getting education, after doing street outreach, after um, having a double life, because for me, I was the cheerleader at school, but then also I was the one that was always fighting in the streets as well. And then on the weekends, I'm traveling to Albany protesting with, other organizations on our rights and funding. And I decided to get those two merged. And that's when I became a person who wanted to talk more about what is missing with us, because I've been fighting for talking about what about us, what about what's going on with lifetime survivors. They done named us perinatals, we done had verticals, which I hate, absolutely hate. I think every panel I get on, you will know that I hate the term vertical. But for but for me it was something more than that. I didn't have anybody. Only person we had to follow was Hydea, and for may she rest in peace. But for me in New York, who was that person that we could follow? Who was that? I didn't want to be that person, and I wanted to be in that person until I kind of got tired and didn't want to do it anymore, and had to go back to school and learn, why did I want to do this and what's my passion. It's not because everybody else wanted me to do it, but because what is missing and what do I want to see. So basically, that's long story short, that's how I got back here. That's why I'm doing the work for lifetime survivors. And it's not for everybody else, it's also for me, because I think I lived a long time for working for my friends who died, who are no longer here. And for me, I had to leave, take a step back, learn the intricacies of what's going on internally to come back and actually do this work in a meaningful way. Sorry for being long-winded.
Oh no, you are perfect. And I love that you named that you were 12 years old when you got into advocacy. You like initially seen a social justice issue because you were looking for your peers in that process and you knew you had to do something about what was happening. So thank you for that. I'm actually going to go to Omar with the same question because I know you personally, Omar, and you just recently got into public facing advocacy. So how has your identity of being a lifetime survivor influenced your ideas about work or your career path and your journey?
Well, I haven't done it as like work wise, but I would like to. Um it has like um right now, like trying to navigate through, like try to talk about it like publicly. It's a little bit, tricky because some people don't want to hear it, or like other people like don't care, especially as a male. So it's a little bit harder to get people's attention when you're a guy. So it's it's been okay, but it's just um it's been a journey. I would like to like find like some type of job with something like in terms of HIV advocacy, like because it's something that I would like to like know more and educate other people on it. And but like what I would like really like is like um educate others and like let people know that like people are were born with HIV because I have encountered like now that I'm a little bit public about it, I've encountered some people that did not know that you could contract it through birth. Like you was able to contract it through birth. So I would like to like work on that aspect more.
I love that you named that, Omar. There are still people in 2025 who do not know that you can transmit HIV through the birthing process. So thank you for naming that, and continue your process in your journey. I do see a hand raised, but I would love if we can just save questions for the end or even put them in a chat so you don't forget. But I just want to make sure we hear from the panelists. Thank you. So Mars, same question. I heard you name that your work is outside of HIV, anything HIV. So how have you been able to navigate that, or how has your lifetime survivor identity influenced like your work and your career path?
Yeah, so this is such a good question. So for me, my story kind of begins similar to Kim's, although I did have symptoms and stuff and everything. So as a kid, I was in and out of the hospital a lot. But when I got to high school, there was this elective. You know, we have to take electives. There was this elective called AIDS Action Club, and I'd never seen a club at anywhere that was, you know, targeted on people with living with HIV and AIDS. And so I joined the club and was in it for all 4 years through high school. The first year, we learned all about HIV, how it worked, how it was transmitted. You know, we watched a bunch of old videos to help us get the illustration of what HIV and AIDS would look, you know, looked like. Um, but what was missing from our class was the human element. There, at no point did someone come and speak on their HIV experience. We volunteered at like a local LGBTQ center, and we would, you know, create safe sex kits and things like that. But still, no one openly talked to us about their HIV experience. So sophomore year, I was 15 years old when I received my undetectable status. And so sophomore year, I was excited about it. I went to my teacher and was like, hey, can I share this with the class? And he was just a facilitator, really holding space for us. So he was like, if you want to. I'm like, all right, great. So I got up the courage to share my status with the class and share my story. Um, and allowed the floor to be open for them to ask me questions and whatever it was. And it ended up being a pretty tight knit group, pretty much the same people all 4 years. And so it started to feel like I kind of had like siblings or someone, you know, off in the corners. We were all from different classes. So I would see them in the hallways and things like that. And it I never really experienced bullying or anything like that based on like my HIV status. And I really feel like part of that was because there was 10 other people who were easily able to advocate for me and what my story really was growing up. So that's really where advocacy began for me. Um, I work for the New York State of Health contract, so where the marketplace for New York, where people get their health insurance. So there's nothing really front facing there. I work in learning and development. I write a lot of policies and procedures. That's my day job. So then outside of that, I really focus on my advocacy. So I'm a part of the HIV Stops With Me campaign. That's hivstopswithme.org. I've been on that for 6 years now. I'm also a part of the Lifetime Survivors Network, and kind of try to participate there on any of the we have a support group going on and things like that. But those are really the places that my advocacy has gone. I had the privilege last year with the Lifetime Survivor Network to go to a lot of different medical conferences and things, and I've had the privilege of being on a lot of different panels and just having a lot of different conversations about lifetime survivors in a lot of different spaces. And so all that to bring us here to today. And yeah, again, I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you, Mars. I love that. I'm trying to think if I had a high school club that was really meaningful to and like connected to our community, and I don't think we did. So I appreciate your boldness and like sharing your diagnosis and allowing them to ask questions. I can only imagine the career paths they took after hearing your personal experiences. So thank you. Dorinthia, I see your face first. So, but how has your experience as a lifetime survivor, Dandelion, influenced your career path and the journeys that you took?
Like I said, okay, by the way, my journey was a little different from a lot of people up here. I didn't realize what HIV was until the age of 15, 16. Unfortunately, parents growing up, they was telling us not to say nothing. It was a silent secret in my household. Eventually, I got old enough to have the high school experience where I want to bring it back to Mars, and how Mars said that they had the experience of being in clubs and things like that, and being in front of people and being able to speak about their status and stuff like that. Actually, mine was a little bit opposite of that. Mine was I finally found out what HIV was. My status got around the school, and once my status got around the school, I became of no void to everybody. Basically, nobody wanted to talk to me. Nobody, because stigmas were still really extremely high. I had no friends after, and I didn't tell my status. I had a relative tell one of her friends, and her friends told another friend. And being in a small rural area of Georgia, everybody knows everybody, and this just little small little part was, oh, Dorinthia has HIV. Now I no longer have friends. No longer people want to talk to me. No longer want to be able to sit at the table at lunch anymore. So, of course, that was a traumatizing experience. But as I got older, I still had like this resentment towards HIV. Like I felt like my mom and my father was selfish, and I didn't get a chance to make a decision on my own. But however, God always have a place where I stood in, and as I got older, my journey began when I was in 2017, where I met my first dandelion. And unfortunately, I was going to an HIV clinic for the absolute longest and not know that I was going to an HIV clinic. Nobody ever told me that was the clinic for infectious disease. People that have diagnosed with HIV. I'm sorry about my background. My cat had kittens, and they're kind of loud. I'm sorry. But however, they did. I did meet this one specific person, and that was Antoinette. And Antoinette was the first person I was like, oh man, there's somebody out here like me. Growing up and having friends, and nobody knows what it feels like to have HIV. And finally finding someone that kind of could understand and put themselves in your shoes, literally in your shoes, and you could put yourself in theirs, and it was just such a breather. So my advocacy started with Georgia Equality with the Youth HIV Policy Advisory Board, where we talked to the elected officials, where we did a policy brief to change the laws in Georgia to intent to transmit. And it sat on the desk of the elected officials for a while, but we was the last cohorts to get the laws changed in Georgia. However, we did make that happen, and that was my first time ever opening up to become in this advocacy world. And as I continued my journey, I began to be in I got into VIVE, one of the models of VIVE, also Black AIDS Institute, where we was talking about prevention and care through social media with the women. Hadia was there. She was one of the women that stood alongside me and a whole bunch of other women, great, amazing women. I remember this lady told me, she was like, every step that you make from this point on, you take this step and you use it. So I did. I took the steps and I used it to continue to build and continue to walk in this walk, even though it's not easy. It's never easy. And stigma is still out here. It's still here for people to talk about, but never want to be educated. Some people are ignorant, and they only ignorant because they want to be, because it's enough knowledge out here for anybody to have. And as got a little bit older, of course, I'm sorry for the long.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna go ahead and kill it right there, because that's hurting that he get off. I'm sorry, it was a little too much. So I'm sorry.
Okay. I love it's okay.
I'm sorry, babe.
Because say what you have. Yeah, because
Okay.
I have another question for y'all.
Yeah.
But I love that you that was just a major jump from being in a space of unknown to being in this full throttle advocacy.
Yes,
I'm about to change a whole law in the state of Georgia that's been in existence for 20 plus years. And they doubted us, but we did what we needed to do. So Aisha, same question. You have been living with HIV since birth, and you have entered the workforce in many different avenues, but when did you realize your connection as a Dandelion Lifetime Survivor intersected with your career path or the work or your journey or your relationship with work?
I guess I'll just quickly answer that. I mean, it was when folks wanted to give me a $25 Dunkin' Donut card to hear my story. When they wanted to give me a $10 gas card to talk about being border positive. So that's when I realized that that my lived experience intersects with some work in the HIV field. I mean, that's just the quickest way to get to the answer. Getting into this work it wasn't something that I wanted to do. I was actually outed and folks came and found me. And from there, it was always about my story, wanting to hear why this person outed me, wanting to talk about whatever individual I was dating at the time. Then when you find out HIV wasn't the biggest story of my life, wanting to hear more about that and wanting to come up with a reason for how I acquired HIV. So, people wanting to know your business is how I really found out that my lived experience was, I guess the way I will say it is that my lived experience, folks wanted to have that, know that, and not necessarily pay me equitably.
Same. Thank you, Aisha. You done brought everybody in the chat back to them $25 gift cards, baby. Cause me and D know that money used to be gone in a day. In an hour before it even reached our hands. So I just really quick want to do a time check because I know we started a little early. So Mark or Martha, what time are we wrapping up our panel just so I could be sure?
We're good for until 10:45.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much. Have you all, and let me start with Omar. Um, Omar, I love that you named, like we talked about, you're getting into public facing advocacy. I know you personally, so I know how you use TikTok and social media to your advantage for your advocacy. But prior to HIV related work or education that you do in your previous jobs, have you had any resources that support your mental health, your career counseling, development of your career, anything like that, starting from like even high school?
Heck no. Mm-mm.
You said heck no.
Heck no. Mm-mm. Nope. Not whatsoever. Nothing. Nothing. It's actually been the opposite. It's been very difficult for me, like with jobs, because the way I learn at a very slow pace. So jobs nowadays are very impatient. So because of the way I learn, what they'll do is they'll use the 90-day method. So after the 90 days, they just let me go and just say that I didn't fulfill like what they wanted. And like the thing is with me, like is very like I have part aside from being born with HIV, I also have learning disability, anxiety, social anxiety, attention deficit disorder, reading comprehension, and brain processing. And I sometimes suffer panic attacks, but those don't happen frequent. So, like to see my disability, you have to put me in a certain situation. So, like if it's a place that has like a lot of instructions, or like a place that has like if it's everything, like if it's timed or whatever, then yeah, you're gonna notice it. I'm not going to perform well. It has to be something that's the same thing over and over and over and over, the same thing every day, like the same task every day in order for me to perform well, or provide me with accommodations, which a lot of jobs don't like doing. Because the last job that I had was with an airline, and my therapist recommended like some like a recommended like some accommodations. They declined it because they felt like it was like them doing the job for me. So it's like basically, so yeah, like no, I haven't. It's been the opposite. So it's like sometimes, like sometimes like I feel like okay, like I'm not gonna be a great, like sometimes I'd be worried like in the like for the future, like I'm like okay, I guess I'll never find a stable job because this is a problem. Like each time I get a job, it's like it don't either last long, or or they're not patient. So yeah, no, like I will, like to like work, some,
Mhm.
but yeah, like no.
You, Omar, you definitely named what I was thinking when I read this question to myself, as far as like, I don't remember any like in-depth career development trainings coming from like high school per se. Like we had one day of all right, y'all, make sure you have your resume. It was like for a project, you know, dress up, interview
Yeah,
style,
yeah,
show up
yeah.
presentable.
They don't. Yeah,
But it wasn't any like, you know, any work around it. Like, what am I getting into when I go to a job interview? Should I tell them I'm living with HIV if I'm working in food service? Should I not? When if I get cut? Should I call my, you know, like any
yeah,
type of conversations about that are not happening in our high, of course not in high school, but like even with our providers, we're not having those type of conversations with young people. Um, Kim, what about you? Like employment related resources?
Oh, no. So I think for me, I will say that I was blessed. Both my sisters are social workers. So they gave me my on the job training. They were the ones that were like, do not leave outside without a belt on. Do not, you will have on matching socks. This is how you talk. This is what you say. Um, Me showing up at that time, this is like again early 2000s, in the field. And I will say we did have somebody come in who wound up being my mentor. And I always said I was placed in the right space, the right place at the right time. Where I had Claire Simon, may she rest in peace. That's where I feel like I'm saying rest in peace too many times. Um, my mentor, she just passed away last summer, and she came in with a training. So it was just like how to cultivate your stories. And we were like 14, 15. Um, and she gave us that training on just to how to get your message across and to tell your story effectively. And she kind of put me under her wing and taught me how to do different things. So that was my on the job training or my support. And then it was, other people like Deborah Levine, and then I had like Barbara. Again, sadly, she passed away, but like I had older women, I like Ivy, like different women in the field who were like up in like who were doing the work, who wanted to see us do it. They were my mentors, my people who like told me what to do, what not to do, how to talk, how to learn the system, what they're expecting, and then utilize that and make that work for me. So I think it wasn't an official thing like in school. We wasn't doing that. It was nobody offering up like this is how you show up. It was honestly the giants and the elders who actually was like, hey, she ain't afraid. Go ahead and do it. And my sisters, I can say that, and each other, because I think a lot of us learned from each other. Whereas we got older, we all was giving each other little tidbits where it's like, girl, don't do that. No, no, no. They looking for this. All right, here's my resume. This is what my resume look like. Put this. All right. When it comes to this is what you say. But I think the biggest setback for me is my mental health. I cannot. I have severe anxiety. Most people don't. When you see me in public, I'm very big. I'm very bubbly. My personality is huge. But I have to pace myself, and I'm up at 5 o'clock this morning getting ready for a panel discussion. And I'm not even around anybody. Um, because for me, it takes a lot, even from before of being in isolation in a sense of not my grandmother not putting me with a whole bunch of people so I wouldn't get sick. So even when I go into spaces with large groups, I shut down. I have to really like listen to music. It's a whole routine for me to show up effectively and be that person. And then as soon as the job is done, I have to retreat back. So those are tools and tricks that I had to learn from myself, for me to show up in this work and continue to do it and not quit every day. So yeah.
Yes, thank you for naming mental health. You and Omar did that so eloquently, but it's so important that we talk about mental health, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. I do want to go to one more person because Mars, you talked about you work for the state, you work in the insurance realm. I know somehow, somewhere along the way, you got some career-based trainings. Like, please reassure us.
So, so yeah, it's true. I've been at my job now for 10 years. I technically don't work for the state, but I do work on a state project. Um, but the until that point, until 10 years ago when I got this job, there really wasn't much professional development. I went through a lot of the actions, such as the career day and things like that, applying to colleges, even taking my ACTs, which was what we did in Chicago, which is where I was raised. You know, taking all the state tests to get into colleges and things like that. All of that stuff was just like, I'll go through the motions to do the activity that is happening in class, but I don't actually believe I have a future. So therefore, why plan for it? So when about 10 years ago, when I moved to New York in 2011, so I guess it's been about 13 years now, 14 years. And I've been at this job for 10. I've been in my position, like in my department, for about 8. And that's when I joined learning and development, that's really when my development started. And even then, honestly, it wasn't until like my second manager within that organization that, you know, we had structured professional development, computer-based trainings and things like that that they require of like all employees, but nothing specific to like me and my path and what I maybe wanted to do. I didn't even know what that was. But I finally had a manager who sat me down one day in her office and was like, so goals. What are those? You know, and she was like, you know, well, where do you want to go within the company? I could maybe see you being a manager one day. And that's, you know, like 4 steps from where I was at the time. Now I'm 1 step from a manager. But you know, she saw the potential in me and helped me get past my own mental barrier of whether or not the future was going to happen, and more so like, well, it hasn't, like, I haven't gone anywhere yet. And I've spent however, you know, 20, I'm 36 now. So I've spent, you know, 27 or something years, you know, thinking maybe I shouldn't plan for that. And so, you know, this manager really kind of helped put into perspective that even that was possible. And that's really what started my journey, I guess you can say, on professional development and goals and things like that. She made sure that I was given all the opportunities and all the classes and things to do that. Something that is similar to me, to Omar, as far as my learning. I've never been diagnosed with any official like learning disabilities, but learning has always come difficult to me because I basically slept through my first 10 years of school, or well, from first to fifth grade. I basically was sick and in and out of the hospital so much that I didn't get a good education. So high school was like a crash course for me of like 6 years of school in 4. Um, so it was a lot to catch up on. So for me, learning, my managers have been amazing and have allowed me to take on my own projects, because if I'm passionate about something, I'm going to get it done. And quality improvement and quality management is part of my title with my job. And it's, yeah. So I guess that kind of answers the question.
Definitely answered the question. And you named 2 big things, like, one, like, why plan for it? I think we all like can resonate with you on that when we have been told our life is cut short or will be cut short. So it was like, why plan for anything? I did the same thing. I did not give a day about my time in school, the way that I know if I took it more seriously, or even like my future when it came to college, I was just like, it's whatever happens, happens. I'm not going to be here anyway, you know? And that was such, that kept me so, uh, like, from reaching my fullest potential, that it's so unfortunate. And then the other thing that you named was, once you interacted or met that manager, they were able to show you what was possible. And I think we all have, and if we have not already, but we've met people in our life who has like made it click for us, where it's like, oh, there's so much possibility out there. And Kim named it beautifully when you named Ivy and your mentors, because, you know, mine was Vanita. And even meeting another dandelion like Dee showed me, oh, it's possible. There's more of us out there, this community. So thank y'all for naming it. Um, Raise your hand, just my panel, but raise your hand if you have a learning style that is unique to you. Okay. Majority of us do. Like, everybody's learning style is never the same. It's never linear, structured. So if you ever questioning why is this work training not working for employees, or why, here in the school system doesn't work for certain students, we all have learning styles that are unique to us. So I'm going to switch to a different question, and I'm going to pass it to Aisha. But does your current employer know your HIV status? And do you feel like that has influenced your experience in your job and your career, either positively or negatively?
Well, being that my last 3 jobs, I have not even applied. It's literally been people of, hey, I want you here working and doing this in this way. So the short answer to that is most definitely it has impacted me positively. My employers do know my status. That has been the reason for the inquiries. When I first started out on social media doing advocacy, after I was outed on social media, I became like a peer. So basically, folks would reach out to me, come to me with questions, maybe how I handle different things, and I would just be providing them back answers. And that's how I was able to actually get my first job. And then another one, I just was speaking Wayland, DC, and an organization in Orlando. Their director, I'm sorry, not a code. I'm so getting used to code ED structures now. But the executive director was in DC. Matter of fact, at Ace Watch. And kudos to anybody who's going to be making their way there soon, advocating for people like me. So yeah, I was at Ace Watch and met a director there, and that's how I got my next job. So pretty much all of my most recent employers, and this is over the stretch of about the last 10 years, have been because of my status and my lived experience. And I started out in HIV service organizations as a peer, creating peer programs and like working myself up. So I think I answered that.
You definitely did. You honestly just showed us how something can evolve. Something that somebody meant for bad turned into something good in your own benefit, and I really love that because we can get into how they really thought that they were gonna embarrass you, but they just kind of like just jet started your career path when it came to HIV. So thank you to whoever that person is. Dorinthia, same question for you. Like, does your job know about your lived experience? And is that a benefit, or has that been positive or negative in your life?
Oh, that been a benefit. That's being HIV positive, and I think the requirements when I got the job was being HIV positive and having a child within the 5-year mark. So it was a benefit for me when I received the position. So yeah, like I haven't had no problems, and also they benefit. The last thing I want to say is that they accommodated everything, far as if I get sick, we got like if I need to call off, they accommodate that. It could be the day of. Like it was just really beneficial when I got the job. And also for the people that do not know, I work at Emory University School of Medicine. For the last 5 years, I work as a clinical research interviewer, coordinator, whatever you want to spend, peer navigator for the last 5 years. However, I will be missing that job. But however, yeah, it was a benefits for me. Definitely benefited.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to pass it back to Aisha. I think you wanted to name something else.
I'm gonna say I feel like maybe the earlier question might have been, because in all honesty, you know, HIV service organizations are always looking to employ people living with HIV in specific roles. I know being in community-based organizations, it was always their first choice to have somebody, even a case manager that was living with HIV. It was just the availability of that, or having people that want to show up in that space and do that work, because it takes a lot to show up and do the work, and it's also a part of your lived experience. However, I feel that working with HIV organizations has been more beneficial for me because of how it allows me to still show up in advocacy, show up for myself. And also I have the availability of having things like life insurance and health insurance that does not break the bank. Honestly, prior to working in HIV service organizations, I did not have I think for the year, my tax returns were about $13,000. I was not making adequate money at all. I was not making enough money to really take care of myself or my children. I rely heavily on government assistance. And that means having to deal with a lot of different people, a lot of different attitudes, a lot of people who feel, you know, that you're taking advantage of some system, even though the resources that you're receiving were not enough. I remember used to tell people, you know, I can't die. Like, I can't die because I can't even get insurance. I don't know what would happen to my kids. My mother died when I was really young. I had the availability of having grandparents who were well in this world and were blessed tremendously by the Lord and were able to take care of 3 kids without any assistance, where they saved our money for us that we got in Social Security from my mom, even though it wasn't much, but was able to save that up for me. And I ran through it like it was a $10 bill as soon as it got in my account. So, you know, getting into the workforce and really becoming an adult was really terrifying. And at the same time, I also was eager to ride the systems too. It wasn't until maybe I was about 25 that I realized I need to go back to school. I didn't even have a GED. I need to do something with my life. So I think I wanted to go back because I'm like, the way I answered that makes it seem like, you know, everything was just a walk in the park, and you know, everything just has been well since I have been employed in HIV, and that really has not been the case. And actually, you know, if it haven't been for working in HIV service organizations or organizations that intersect with the HIV community, I don't know, you know, that I would be in the space that I am in today, and that my children would have turned out the way that they have, because I know that every experience that you have shapes you, and they shape the 2 children that I have that are 7 and 17. So thank you for letting me go.
Of course, Aisha, and without even like force or any questions around politics or anything like that, you named a very important point, which is Social Security and the benefits of Social Security in your story. Like, you named that, you know, your grandparents received it from your mom's experience, and you know, you somehow benefited from that, even though it was a little coin in your pocket. It was still like, oh shit, I got money. And then you were like, wait, I can get more money once I get out on my own and do my own thing and flourish. But how can I do that? And how do I navigate that? So I really, really appreciate you naming that, especially while Social Security funding could be on the line. Medicaid funding is on the line. Like, you know, prevention funding is on the line. So thank you for uplifting that. Dee, I saw you like raising your hand, putting it down, raising your hand. So what you gotta say?
I didn't want to be rude, but the equitable pay that that's why. But Kimmy had already put it in there. Like, we need to be paid properly. We
Name
need to
it.
be paid properly for the work that we do. It's very important. Like, it's vital. Like, I'm tired of us getting paid crumbs off of the table when we have kids, we have houses to pay for, we have lights just like everybody else. And some of these organizations are uh, I want to be really careful the way I say this. Some of these organizations are holding on to their positions and not giving people opportunities to be in positions. um Gatekeeping, I didn't want to say it, but gatekeeping is time for us people that are younger generations to come up and be that person. We can do it. Let it said it. I want to go to the word of God, but I am going to go real quick. Let the older teach the young, and that has been forgotten about in the HIV community and with people growing up. It's time for us to get the older to mentor us, because y'all already have it locked in. Give us an opportunity, pay us equitably, and also give us an opportunity to be in a position and be in that position that you have been in, and so we can teach the younger generation behind us and not gatekeep and hold on to it. But that's all I wanted to say. Sorry.
You named exactly what everybody needed to hear. The chat's going crazy, so I appreciate that.
We need HIV reparations. That's what we need.
Okay, talk that talk. I do want to ask one more question before we open it up to the folks in the space. Um, mental health. Mental health. I heard Kimberly name it. I heard Omar and Mars name it. And how has mental health in any way influenced or impacted the work that you do, whether it's related to HIV or outside of HIV in your jobs? And anybody can answer this. I just took a mental health day yesterday, and I actually just learned about mental health days last year. I didn't even know that was a thing. And not all jobs offer it, but if they did, and if you can convince your job or your career or wherever you are placed, y'all need to include mental health into this journey or this work, what would that look like? How has it influenced you? And go ahead, Kim.
Um, I am a big advocate on mental health. Think I'm one of the people that's like, guys, getting therapy. We need it now. Still looking for a therapist now. Like, that's a whole nother story. But I think again for me, because HIV impacted me in a different way, my status is my experience, because I've been relatively healthy, from what they call what healthy is. But for me, it's been the experience of like survivor's guilt, losing my friends, um, going to funeral after funeral after funeral over and over, and then being closed off to new experiences with people, not trusting people because of past trauma, um, not wanting to, that depression comes in and creeps in because, we don't focus on the glimmers that we have in a day. It's more of the triggers. And for me, trying to fight through different things that you don't realize is a trigger, as something as simple as your birthday, something as simple as the season changes, Christmas, because for me, all of those remind me of different things that happen in my life. I can't listen to reggae music because that's my mom died on Labor Day. So for me, it's like again the death association, the holiday association. So when I show up in the space and I have to remember that nobody in this space knows my life. So I have to be cognizant when I don't even realize that a lot of the stuff that I didn't say are triggers. And then having to explain over and over again, that mental anguish of having to do that builds up on a person. And I think for us, a lot of us have, all of us have that childhood trauma that we are still working through. And I just had this conversation yesterday where, we might have been healed, but we're not delivered. It's still things that still come up that don't start, Dorinthia, because we just had a whole hallelujah session this morning. But it's but it's something that we are still working through every single day. So give us grace, ask us if you are hiring somebody, and here's me because I'm always going to put it in. If you're going to hire somebody with lived experience, pay us adequately, because it's not just about paying our bills and maybe being able to afford the 4 chicken wings that cost now $9 in the restaurant, but also just of the fact that that's less stress on me to think about can I live, or am I just existing with this? That adds on to that. When a lot of us have the qualifications, not just because of lived experience, but because, like Aisha said, we said this isn't enough. I had, just like Aisha, getting a GED and going back to school so that way you can take me serious and then pay me for the degrees that I went to, the time, and then treat me not like the kid that you were treating at clinic, because a lot of the times everybody still sees us as the little babies who was going to die by the age of 1, and then treat us as that with our pay, how they talk to us, and the opportunities. And then when we say we want to come in and we can do this job because we've been doing this job, you just haven't given us credit because we didn't know our power, then it's a problem and we're too sassy or we're too privileged, when nothing that we have had, we have just gotten to us. We had to earn and fight for. Sorry for the angry tone. It's early in the morning and I'm only on 1 cup of coffee, but I'm not sorry about the message. So thank you.
And I had to write down a whole bunch of your messages because I'm gonna put them on a t-shirt. I love glimmers and not tremors. Okay. And then what was the other one that you said? Oh, Martha put it in the chat.
Still not delivered.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That nearly sent me. I need that on a shirt. Okay. Thank you, Kim. Thank you so much. And D, I see you with your hand up. So
Yeah, I just want to add to Kim what she said. She's right. Like we literally just had to have one of them moments this morning when Kim, with me going through some mental stuff, like literally just had a conversation this morning. And I wanted to say, like you said, the healed, not delivered. That's a lot of stuff we working through and we trying to process through. And also I wanted to just encourage a lot of people, get you a group of people that got wise counseling. Because I listened to Kim this morning, I listened to Nettie, Aisha, like my girls come together and be like, hey, if I'm in a space, they know how to bring me back. If they in the space, we know how to bring each other back. So I just encourage everybody that are positive to get the right people around you that's going to encourage you, lift you, and build you, because that's what I have around me. Enough people that encouraging me, building me, and lifting me up, even in my mess. But yeah, that mess is a message. So, I appreciate you, Kim. So yeah.
there is a message in the mess. Thank you, D. I love that you named that. We talked about like how much time should we give each other when we are going through mental unwellness? Because that's all it is. I don't want to call it an illness. I don't want to call it distress or anything that has a negative connotation, but it's just being unwell in that moment. How much time? And we landed on like 48 hours, and we should give each other a 48-hour grace to, return, get ourselves back to center. And then reach out to each other like, hey, you good? I see right here. Okay, let me know when you're good. And we should be able to do that with each other, with peers and community. We should feel safe to do that. So yeah, let's take that out of our group and really like sprinkle that fairy dust elsewhere and see how people can utilize our methods. Omar, when it comes to mental health, mental unwellness, how has that influenced or impacted your career, your approach to your career, your journey in any way?
When it comes to mental health, I try to be calm as possible, but that's an understatement because I'm extremely anxious at all times, and like, so I try to be calm as much as I can. Um and I try not meditation because that's hard because of the attention deficit disorder. It's hard for me to like, meditate and like concentrate and stuff. But like I try not to get too um not get too anxious. I try not to get too anxious about stuff. Like that's what I would say. Like it's a little bit hard. I'm still like working on that aspect because I'm a overthinker and I'm a person that worries a lot. So it's like, yeah, it's very hard. And it's like people keep telling me, oh, think positive. It is like it's very hard for me to like just make my brain automatically think, you know, positive. It's like it's very difficult. So it's like, I don't know.
I love that you named you have attempted to meditate, but it's an ongoing challenge because meditation does not work for everybody. The same way church does not work for everybody.
Right.
You know, therapy does not work for everybody. You have to try out different things to see what works for you. I just learned that there is a planner and stationary items for people who have ADHD, autism, ADD. I learned that from Aisha, and I'm just like, let me get me some because I
Hey,
am an organizer. I'm very atypical. And I want to go to Mars because Mars, you put something in the chat that said Mac truck days. Explain that to the folks before we open it up for questions because I know we're at time.
Yeah. So quickly, Mac Truck days for me are kind of the description that I've given my mental health days where it's like I wake up and not only emotionally but physically I cannot do the day. Like if I do, I will probably snap at somebody. And I am known for being cool, calm, collected. Mars 99.9% of the time. So if I feel like I'm just irritated and just want to scream at the world that morning, or just physically am too just way too tired and I just can't bring myself to do the day in a sense as far as work goes. I call them Mac truck days. The boss that I actually brought up earlier, I had shared my status with her and I told her about these Mac truck days. And so it tended to be where I would take about one a month. But there was, I mean, I had PTO anyway, but there was always some leniency because there an understanding of like, it's not just depression. Like it's a little deeper than that for me. And on a Mac truck day, it's truly feeling like I don't have the ability to do so. And I probably spend most of that day sleeping or in bed, to be honest.
And I'm not mad at it because that's what I do too. Okay. I'm not getting out of bed. So we do not have any time for questions, but if you all can put them in the chat, any questions for the panelists, we will be sure to take screenshots or whatever's necessary to send it to everybody. To make sure to get it back to you all or back to Mark and Martha so that they can disseminate it to y'all. But thank you. I want to give a big warm thank you to Omar, to Mars, to Kim, to Dorinthia, and Aisha for taking the time out to be on this panel, to share your personal experiences, to retell your story once again, and how impactful you all are. I really, really appreciate you. So thank you so much. I hope you all go off and be well and have a wonderful day and really take the time after this call to woosah, decompress, And yeah, remember that you all have done something that is remarkable and trailblazing to the folks on this call. So thank you. And thank you, Mark, for having us. And have a good one, everybody. Bye.
Thank you all so much. Wow. Just the powerful bearing witness to what you all had to share was such a gift. And I know that as you all express, sharing your stories and over again can sometimes be taxing, but we are grateful that you're sharing it with our community. And we do hope that there's a passing of the torch, as you all have stated. But just hearing your experiences, your thoughts, and your suggestions and resources were very impactful for us. So thank you again. Thank you to the panelists. Thank you, Antoinette, for moderating. We are going to move into our next panel. I know the day